Thanks for joining the Mom Gang podcast, where 4 new moms bonded over their obsession with baby classes and keeping it real. Here's your hosts, Amanda, Chantel, Jenna, and Lauren. Be wary, there are babies in the background.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Welcome to our podcast.
Say hi, Preston. No,
All right. Well, today we're going to start off just explaining our relationship with one another and how we all met. So me and Amanda were the first ones to meet. We met at the dog park when we were about 40 weeks pregnant. And I remember talking to Amanda. She was 41 weeks pregnant and ready to pop, ready to get Preston out of her. She's going in the next week to be induced. And
So were you guys just like sitting in the park and we're like, let's
They're
go?
like, hey, there's another pregnant lady on the other side.
She looks just as pregnant as I look. Maybe I should go talk to her. Yeah, we ended up just talking. I guess you kind of talked to some people that we knew before.
Yeah.
And like you talked to Jocelyn before, but
Yeah.
yeah, turns out I was going to name my daughter the same as her dog. So
Is that how you guys started talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh, are you the girl naming your daughter Callie? The same name as my dog?
Yeah, she's like, how are you going to spell it? And I'm like, Kali. And she's like, oh, that's the exact same spelling as my dog. So Callie was named after Callie, the cutest dog in the park. And we became instant friends.
Yeah.
Did you guys hang out like a lot before the baby came?
We would just meet at the dog park, really.
Yeah.
So like, whenever we were going, we'd just say like, hey, are you going out? And then gonna take your dog to the park, and we'd go and meet each other and just walk around and talk.
Waddle
and talk
around.
And talk. Yeah, waddle around, I
the
should
dog
say.
park.
And then one day, Amanda just wasn't at the dog park anymore. I was like, okay, she's in the hospital for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had my baby, and then invited Chantel over for lunch a couple of weeks later and told her the horror story of giving birth. And this was before you had your baby.
Yeah, so I was going on 41 weeks pregnant as well. And I asked her how it was being induced because I knew I was going in to be induced the next week.
Oh, and I told her how brutal it was.
And you ended up with a C-section?
Yeah. I'm the only mom here out of the 4 moms with a C-section. So I'm a real mom gang member because I got cut open for that shit. I got the scar to prove it. So then you guys met Jenna.
Yeah, so we started going to a baby Babel program, and Jenna was in it, and Jenna just started talking to us, and we're like, hey, I kind of like her.
Yeah,
And
and
they walked in, and Amanda was wearing a dress, and I was like, sweet. Like, she's not, wrecking her style in order to come to these baby classes and sit on the ground.
then we had to sit on the floor and cross our legs, and I was like, shit, why
she did that, I
do
could see her face being like, fuck. And then I went home and I told my husband, he's like, oh, how was the baby class? Did you like anybody? And I was like, yeah, I think I could be friends with these 2 girls.
Yeah, and then Chantel and I went out for lunch, I think, and we were like, we like Jenna. We should recruit her.
Maybe she can be.
She's
hang out
like
with us.
one of us. She
I
can
guess
hang
she
out with
can hang out
us.
with us.
Yeah.
And then the next class, we invited her for coffee.
And we
And
went
we
for
went
a
to-
2-hour coffee.
Yeah.
And just didn't shut up.
And then they were all going for summer vacations afterwards. But like we all even like as we were leaving, we're like hanging out in the parking lot. Like no one really wanted to say goodbye. And then we all hugged goodbye. And I was like, I just
like
met
a good
these
date.
girls.
Yeah.
It was like a really good date.
Very
Really good date. Really good blanket.
And then came our next baby class. And
Then
I
came
was
Mommy
walking to
Connections.
the parking lot, and Lauren pulled up next to me, and I was like, hey, you must be going to this class. We both have babies, so. And then we walked in together, and we talked, and then I was like, you guys, secretly before you knew, I was like, should we get Lauren in on this? And I'm like, I don't know, we have to see first. So then we decided to have
the first couple classes.
we decided to have like a initiation kind of process to see if you
We also needed to stalk your husband to make sure that he fit in with our husbands. So, like, by the time you came to the first lunch, we knew all about it.
Oh, yeah.
And when I, was
we knew
chatting
where you worked, we knew
yeah,
where
they knew everything about me, yet I didn't know
already knew everything. So I'm like, oh, I work here and I do this.
Oh,
And
we
they're
all
like,
like
yeah,
surprised.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, they knew it all already. So thank you, Facebook.
We'd even
Thank you,
so
Jenna, or FBI.
yeah.
Yes, the FBI of the
Professional
group.
stalker.
The investigator of the group.
Investigator. Yeah.
Lauren's husband also does some podcasts, and so we are all already knew about that before even meeting him. Speak of the devil.
Yeah, speak of the
Here
devil.
he comes sneaking down.
So why don't we go in and we'll tell each our own personal birth stories?
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Do I have to relive it?
you don't have to
funny
relive that,
version.
or you can talk about like your pregnancy, like what was it like, good and bad, something that you wish you knew beforehand.
Well, pregnancy was not all roses and sunshine, let me tell you. When you're like, oh, I'm going to be growing this like wonderful little human being. It's going to be great. Like, I'm going to love it. Not the case. I think I hated all 9 months of being pregnant.
Really?
Yes.
I think it's a girl thing. I think
I think it
I
is.
think girls
are
give
I've
you
heard
a
worse,
rough
yeah.
pregnancy.
Yes.
Because for mine, I was sick the whole 9 months.
I was like sick the first 3, like sick at least every single day, once or twice. Second trimester, a little bit better. Third, just felt terrible at the end. Oh, we need to get a photo.
First podcast.
First podcast photo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Aww.
Yeah, just so you know, right now we've got like one baby chewing on toys, one baby hanging on her mom, another baby hanging off a hip, and another baby feeding. So that's what this is going to be about.
Probably the whole time there'll be at least one person with a boob out. So, it's kind of how it goes these days.
I know for sure, like with me, I thought the same thing as you, like, oh my god, like pregnancy is going to be so great. I'm going to be able to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and I have like the excuse to eat desserts all day and do what I wanted. Little did I know that I was going to feel like absolute crap for the whole 9 months. At the very beginning, I couldn't even eat anything other than bread. I seriously lived off of bread.
Bread and like
Oh,
toast
crackers.
with a little bit of butter. That's like what I
I
ate for
basically
dinner.
had like a bagel for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
And
Did you guys get like physically sick?
Sick.
Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
did too,
I
right?
yes.
puked every single day, at least 5 times a day.
5? Oh my goodness.
I learned how to drive with a bucket in between my legs so I could get to work.
Yes.
I went to work and like I barely could do my job because every like 5 minutes I'd have to run to the washroom and like throw up.
Yeah.
I've thrown up all over the floor in front of all of my clients. And this is before they knew I was pregnant. They're like, you can't be here if you're that sick. Or I'm just like, no, it's all good. Like, don't worry, guys. I just don't feel very good. It must have been something I ate.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes. And that was the dad giveaway at work for me, is when everyone's like, you're never not feeling very good for this long. Like, you've really been under the weather lately. Oh yeah, it must be something I caught. Little did they know. Nope, that's not the reason.
I remember too, like we moved to a temporary office for a while ours was under construction, and they just so happened to put us by the garbage room.
Oh no.
And this is not your typical garbage room. This is like where all the disposables from all of the patients go. So like, yeah, and I mean it gets taken out daily, but just
So
one
Chantel works in a like a retirement community, right? Just so you know what kind of clients she's working with.
Yeah. Oh my god, people are like, wait.
The waste of these clients, are they dead?
Just collecting all these dead bodies. So every single time that door opened, I was like gagging, and my boss is like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I just can't handle it. I just can't. And one time there is someone that microwaved fish in our break room.
Oh no.
And it's not your typical like leftover salmon from a meal. It was like dried out, I don't know, for like 40 days. I walked in the break room and I instantly, my eyes were watering. I was gagging. I was like, nope. I had to eat my lunch in my car. I couldn't even go near the break room. I was so sensitive to smell.
Smell.
So-
It was like, your smell is out of control.
Oh, I know.
I would walk in here, coming home after work, and my husband's so sweet, trying to make a nice dinner, and I would walk in and be like, nope, I'm not even going to try a bite because that smells terrible.
Yeah.
And he's like, I tried so hard to make like a healthy dinner, right? You're trying to eat healthy.
Oh,
Or they're like, what do you want? What do you want?
Just
And
make
you're
me my toast.
Yeah, and you're just
Yeah.
like, I want this, I want that. And then they're like, okay, and they go make it, and then it's ready, and it's like, nah, I'm not really
Change my
feeling
mind.
it anymore. Yeah.
I know for me, like, if it wasn't anything that was carbs, couldn't stomach it.
Yeah.
Couldn't have a salad to save my life. I could kind of eat fruit, but basically, like, lived off of pasta, bread.
Carbs.
Yep.
McDonald's cheeseburgers,
Oh, yeah.
pizza.
And then near the end, I lived off of ice cream and blizzards.
Yeah, same.
Needless to say, also me and Amanda bonded over us both gaining 50 pounds.
Yeah, we started at the same weight,
Oh yeah.
and we both gained the same amount of weight.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy. You must have been
Both
going on the same
waddled around
blizzard
the park.
runs.
Yeah.
Blizzard
Yeah.
runs, yeah. 2 for
Both
1.
of us took full advantage of like what we could eat when we wanted to eat it. Even though half the time I threw it all up. And somehow still gained 50 pounds. So,
Can you
could
imagine if you weren't sick?
Yeah, I'd be like rolling in the door. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I was just a little bit nauseous at the beginning, but otherwise I wasn't sick at all, which was really, really nice. But I had gestational diabetes, so I didn't get to give into any of those.
She only gained
cravings.
15 pounds,
Yeah, I
that
gained
lucky
15.
bitch.
Yeah.
I want to have diabetes my next pregnancy.
Honestly, I feel like it would be a savior
It
for
was
me too.
horrible at the time, like getting your mind around, first of all, thinking that you've done something wrong, even though there's nothing you can do. It's all hormone and like placenta based. And then I did have to have, so I was all food kind of regulated during the day, but my fasting numbers I couldn't get under control, so I did have to take insulin at nighttime. And like having to put a needle into your stomach when you're pregnant was like
Scary.
brutal. Like it's a tiny needle, like it like barely pricks your skin, but it just like your mind. The thought of it, I just felt horrible. I cried so much. And yeah, so I wasn't sick when I was pregnant, but I was emotional. Like some of the times that I cried over the craziest things, phoning my husband because the lady at the registry needed an original signature, not a photocopy, and just bawling my eyes out. And Jordan just being like, well, we can get a wet signature, like it's not a big deal. I'm like, I know, I'm irrational. It was like constant. He would come home and I would just be bawling. Over nothing. Good commercials. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
The Wednesday cry.
But yeah, once I had Austin and I didn't have diabetes anymore, like, so he's now 5 months, but I've just been like, if I don't have at least one treat a day, I'm not living.
You're making up for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still cry just as often.
Yeah.
Turns out it was just me.
Yeah.
But do you guys have any stories of like emotional breakdowns that you guys have had?
Well, we know you have one about your subway run.
Oh my god.
Please retell it.
Please tell the story.
So, as we were mentioning, I was very, very sick my entire pregnancy, and it basically was a thing where if I didn't eat this second, it was game over for me.
I think that was a girl thing, because it was the same with her. Like, when I was hungry, I was hungry. And there's a lot of times my husband and I would be driving, and I'd be like, you need to pull into wherever we can get food, like, right now.
Yeah, that's exactly.
He's like, well, you just
how it
eat
was
before
for
you
me.
left the house. Yeah, well, I'm hungry again, so pull over and get whatever
and
you
I
can
needed
get.
that, like, substance to, like, soothe my stomach if I was feeling ill, like, if it was that, like, nauseous feeling, and I needed to fix it right now. So basically, I was driving home, and I was like, got that sick feeling, and I was like, I have to eat something right now. Like, this second. I cannot wait to drive, like, get home. I probably only had 15 minutes more to get home.
But 15 seems like a very long way away.
Yeah, and I was like, no, not doing it. So I pulled into, like, the nearest turnoff that I could find, and I saw a Subway. And I was like, okay, I know you're not really supposed to have those deli meats, things like that, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to have a chicken sub. The bread is going to fix my life. Everything's going to be good. So I walk in, I start asking for a chicken sub, and the guy starts making it for me, and I asked him to put mustard, mayo, and house sauce, like the sub house sauce. And I thought I made that pretty clear, but obviously he heard hot sauce. And he covered the entire sub in hot sauce. And at that point, I was just like, nope, can't handle this. Not only that, but he put on so much that I was like, there's no way I could eat that. I told him, I was like, no, you know what? I said house sauce. I can't do hot sauce. So what he did was he just took a spoon and he scraped the sauce off and then reapplied the mustard and the mayo. And at that point, I was just livid. I was just like, no, I can't handle this. I can't believe this is happening. And I had a complete breakdown. I screamed at him. I said, stop making the sub! And then I continued to bawl for like 20 minutes. And he was like, oh my God, should I just remake the sub? And at that point, I was so embarrassed because the whole restaurant was full of people. There's other people in line.
And you couldn't tell you were pregnant at this time.
Oh, I didn't even look pregnant.
Yeah.
No. I just looked like I was on the verge of like
Just
a
look
mental
like you're
breakdown.
going crazy.
For sure. So anyways, I was like, you know what, just give me the sub. I don't care, just pack it up. And the girl that he was working with was like, oh, do you need some cookies? Like, here, I can give you some cookies. And meanwhile, I'm like bawling my eyes out. I can barely see. My like mascara's down my face. You know when it's burning your eyes and you like barely can open your eyes. Anyways, I was so embarrassed I had to eat the sub in my car. I couldn't even eat it at the restaurant.
Oh.
I left without telling them I was pregnant either, so they probably just thought I was having like a really rough day.
That's when you're like, I have to make sure to never go back there. Yeah. Or I'm gonna think I'm really crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the guy that was working there was probably pretty new, and he was probably like, wow, this is not the job for me. I can't handle it.
He quit. Scarred him quit that food restaurant.
He's still going to counseling over that lady that flipped her lid over hot sauce.
I'm not good at this job.
Every time someone asks for house sauce, he's like, did you say house sauce or hot sauce?
Yeah. He'll never fuck it up again.
Yeah. He always puts the
Just
sauce on the side.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the times I cried. I also had a moment when I went grocery shopping and I was having one of those days where it was just not going very well. I was sick the whole time. I got into my car, ended up puking all over my car.
Oh.
And I was just like, nope, I'm not doing this. I like pulled into my driveway, walked in my house, just start bawling my eyes out. And my husband's like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I couldn't even talk. I was like crying so hard. And he's like, do you need to go to the hospital? Do we need to go to the hospital? And I was like, like crying. And he's like, okay, please just tell me, like, is this, like, something happened? Like, he was worried that, like, maybe I would have had a, or a miscarriage or something, or, like, there's something wrong with, like, myself or the baby. And he was, like, ready to bring me to the hospital. And I was just like, no, I'm just sad. And he was like, oh my God.
I so feel you. I had so many
Poor
moments
husbands.
like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I wasn't too bad while I was pregnant. It was after I had the baby. And like, I remember finally having a nap a couple of days after I had him, and I had a dream that he was grown up and he was taking care of me. And he was, in my dream, he was like, it's okay, Mom, like, I got you.
Aww.
And then my mom called me and she was like, oh, what were you doing? I was like, oh, I was napping. And I was like, I had this dream. And she's like, oh, what did you dream? And I'm like, that as I had
Baby toys in the
baby
background.
toys, sorry. That Preston was older and he was taking care of me, and I started bawling, and she was like, oh my God, that's like the sweetest thing ever. And it was just so emotional. And then I'd read him his little baby books, and I got to one book and I just, within
Some
the
of the
first
baby
page,
stories-
I just bawled, and my husband's like doing the dishes and he just turns around and he's like, oh God, here we go.
Yes.
And he had to like go over and shush me. He's like, shh, it's okay, it's okay. Oh. Yeah, I was so emotional. I was like, okay, no, this has to stop. Like even like his nursery rhymes, like on his bassinet and stuff, like the little nursery songs would make me cry. It was just unreal. My husband was like, help.
Yeah, I didn't get super emotional, but the toughest thing for me, especially at the end, was sleeping. I could not sleep for the life of me.
No.
I would sleep with like literally 10 pillows on the bed to like prop me up.
Oh god.
3 under my head, 2 under each side. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Mine getting comfy wasn't too bad, but peeing. I had to I don't know, it was maybe a couple weeks before I had him, and I didn't know how I was going to make it because
No, you
like
wanna sleep
literally
on the toilet.
every
You're like,
2
I'll just
seconds,
sleep
like
here.
we would go out to take the dog for a walk, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta pee. And then we'd go out and we'd not even be past our house, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, but I gotta go in again and go pee. Like I seriously, like I even went to the doctor and made them give me a like a test to make sure I didn't have like a bladder infection or something like that because it was like constant.
Nonstop.
And but I didn't. They're like, no, he's just dropped and like he's there and like
Yeah.
he was just ready to go, just really pressing on my bladder.
Oh, I was like,
Um,
I thought I was breastfeeding.
Did you guys? So you guys were both induced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
I was
induced?
as well, yeah.
You were too.
Well,
41
so
weeks?
I was induced. So it was actually before I was supposed to be due. I was like 4 days earlier than like 40 weeks. And I got up in the middle of the night because I like couldn't sleep ever, so I was up half the night anyways. So I got up to go to the bathroom, and when I stood up, I was like, well, I don't think I peed yet, but so my water broke in the middle of the night. And so when we went in, they said, like, yes, your water had broke, but I didn't have any contractions yet. And so they said, you can either, like, go home for 12 hours and come back if you don't have any yet, or just waiting the 12 hours, they might start on their own. So because they didn't start on their own, then they had to induce me because my water
your
already
water
broke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, they get that going so fast.
Oh, I know.
You're
It
just
felt like he was never gonna come out, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, okay, I guess
Things
he's
are
gonna
moving.
come out.
Like,
I was supposed to be induced, and then so I was supposed to be because of the gestational diabetes, and I also had high blood pressure. So they were inducing me at 38 weeks. So my mom and my sister actually flew in 2 days beforehand, so that they would be here for it. I picked them up from the airport. We went to Walmart, bought a whole bunch of like baby stuff, and then we went to a local restaurant for lunch. And I went to the bathroom, and there was actually like a little bit of blood. And so I came back to the table and I told them, and my mom's like, "Oh, Davey, you're having the baby," and my sister's like, "No, Mom, like it's her first baby. That doesn't like it's very seldom it would come early, blah blah blah." So we go home, and my sister had like a nap on the couch, which like in hindsight I should have had a nap on the couch.
yes.
And same thing kind of happened. I'm laying on the couch, and all of a sudden I got this huge urge to pee, but then I peed, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening right now? This is so embarrassing." So I stood up. And my dog was sleeping on the floor beside the couch, and the water just kept coming all over his head.
Oh,
And then he started to like
God.
lick it under the area.
no.
So then I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure my water just broke because it wouldn't stop. It's the weirdest
See,
feeling.
and mine was only a little
Oh,
bit, so then I
no.
was like, did I pee?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't think I peed.
No, mine was like
But,
gush and
yes.
did not stop. Like my sister, actually, I've got a picture which is kind of cool. I am essentially naked because my clothes were so wet. I've got a kitchen towel in between my legs. I'm bawling and I'm on the phone with my husband because he was at work. Yeah, and then we went straight to the
We gotta
hospital.
put that picture on our Instagram.
Yeah, we will. for
Follow
sure.
us, Mom Gang.
Yeah. By the time I got there, I was in contraction. Like I was having contractions.
Yeah.
So like from the time my water broke to the time I had him, it was only 9 hours.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like it went really fast. But
See, mine was like, it was like 2 a.m. when my water broke, and then she came at like just before midnight. But of course, so Jordan texts my mom at like 2 a.m. First thing he writes, "Don't panic."
yes, good
Do you
call.
think what she does? She panics, calls, "Oh my God, what's happening? I need to know what's happening right now. Do I need to come to the hospital?" So she's going crazy, and he's like, "No, it's fine. Just stay at home. Go back to sleep." She's like, "Do you think I'll be able to go back to sleep right now?"
Oh my gosh.
No, I was induced and I was in labor for 2 days.
Oh. And was it like intense for 2 days?
No, it was really slow the first 12 hours or so. They just kept giving me that
Pitocin?
no, like the gel to to make you dilate. And give me the gel and send me home, then give me more gel and then send me home, and then finally when I went back, when I started feeling contractions, they were like, so what do you want for the pain? We have laughing gas. And I was like, okay, I'll take the laughing gas. And then took a couple of inhales of the laughing gas, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's not bad, and started to laugh afterwards. And then my husband's like, he's like, did the laughing gas work? And I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. I'm like, do you want to try it? and he's like, no. And I'm like, all right. And then I take an inhale and I start laughing. He's like, actually, yeah, let me try that.
Did you try it?
Yeah. And he's inhaling it, and then he puts it down. He's like, that did nothing. And then we both looked at each other and just started cracking up. And then like he's inhaling the laughing gas, and meanwhile like the nurse is walking by and like, put it down.
I bet that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure
it was his buddy who
all the
told
time.
him, like, you should try the laughing gas. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Calms the husband down, calms the wife down.
Exactly. But then the
Always
laughing
well.
gas did nothing.
No.
Once the contractions really start, it's like, get this
It's
away
almost
from me.
annoying.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I got the epidural.
Yes.
And then pretty much nothing was happening for another 12 hours. And then they cut this little guy out of me. And then...
Yeah. So yeah, at what point did they decide to change the C-section? Like,
well, I wasn't dilating at all, like for hours, and they were really low on doctors. They only had one doctor doing the C-sections, and they kept telling me like, yeah, we'll see, and then he started getting like a irregular heartbeat because I started getting an infection because my water was broken for so long. So they were like, oh, well, like, we'll wait, and then finally I was like, get me the doctor now, like, you gotta get him out. So then, I went in and they cut me open, and first thing they said when they pulled them out was, oh my God, look at those eyebrows! And I was like, as out of it as I told my husband, I was like, go get a picture of him right now. I need to see what I just gave birth to. Anybody who's gonna end up seeing pictures of him online, he has the craziest eyebrows. He had a unibrow since day 0.
Day 0.
He's definitely like grown into them for sure.
Yeah, he's
We'll
growing.
post a picture from like when he was younger, I think.
Yeah, we'll post his first baby picture too, and it's like, whoa, like I was like, oof, that's my kid. I'll love him regardless.
Those are some good eyebrows.
I was like, ooh. But now he's super cute, so I guess I'll keep him. Oh, and just to let everybody know, we'll just like I guess tell everybody our kitties' names and how old they are. So we'll start with Lori.
So Chloe is the oldest. She now is just over 7 months. And she's, trying not to sleep, but, she doesn't like to miss the action, so she's doing as much as possible.
She has FOMO, like all these babies.
Yeah.
And then the second oldest is my guy, Preston. He was born on May 15th, so he's just over 5 months old. He's definitely the loudest one out of all of the babies, the most roughest too, I'd say. But yeah, he's a good boy, and he's the biggest foodie too, I'd say.
Oh, is he ever? Yeah. And then my guy Austin, he is 5 months as well. He's just a few days younger than Preston, and he's a pretty quiet guy. He does have laryngomalacia, which is like his trachea kind of flops in when he breathes, so sometimes you'll hear him be a little bit more noisy, but he's definitely growing out of it, and it's something he'll grow out of, and he's a real trooper about it.
Yeah.
And then we got our little
The
youngest little girl.
And she's the youngest of the group. She's 4 months.
She's the vocal one.
Yeah, as you could tell.
She was born on June 13th, and we just turned 4 months just recently. She's very, very vocal today. She's really getting in on this podcast. She has a lot to say. So,
The oldest and the youngest are the girls, and the boys are in the middle.
Yeah.
They're going to take care of the girls, and they're going to
yeah,
be the
so
best
I
friends.
joke that they're not only best friends, but they're also couples.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're little swingers.
They hold hands.
Yeah, Preston and Callie are a couple. They met as they were bumps. They had no choice. We didn't give them a choice. Me and Chantel pretty much said, you guys are a couple, and that's it. And And
see
Austin
how
and
this
Chloe
turns
are a
out in the
couple,
future.
and
Chloe
they
came
don't have a
along
choice.
and is going for the younger man.
Yeah, Austin likes the older girls. No. But seriously, they'll just be the best of friends, we hope, or we'll make them be as we go on.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
So I guess, I mean, we might as well wrap up our first podcast. We hope that you found it entertaining, or maybe you learned a little bit. You can see how different all of our pregnancies can be. And over the weeks, we'll just kind of, talk about real life stuff. We'll talk about husbands, pregnancy, friends, food, wine,
Vaginas.
Yeah, like all the nitty-gritty sex.
Yes, sex
Sex after pregnancy.
There'll
Wait
be
till
a
you
lot of
that
takes.
one.
It's gonna get really good.
Yeah.
Lay it all out there.
So we're gonna post this, but you can also follow us on Instagram. We'll also put the information below here so that you can follow us and share it with your friends. So
And if you guys have any ideas about any topics you'd like us to talk about too,
or questions
or anything, you guys could ask it on our Instagram page.